Hi, this is Amy at amycommonsenssouthern.com. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I upload 2 to 3 times a week. So go ahead and click that subscription button and click the notification bell so you don't miss a thing. Today I want to talk to you about making my Cajun shrimp, and this video is dedicated to a friend who loves this Cajun shrimp. You know who you are. And to make it, I need some about a pound of shrimp. Now I'm using frozen. This is a Carolina shrimp that is wild caught, not farmed, that I got at Lowe's Foods. And this is 1 pound of shrimp. Notice the number on here, 16 to 20. That means that there will be 16 to 20 shrimp per pound. You want that number to be lower because that means they're larger, so fewer per pound. So that's better shrimp for this recipe. I also need my Blackened Cajun seafood seasoning from Whole Foods Market. This is really good stuff. As you can see, I am almost out of it. This recipe is going to be the end of this seasoning for me, and I'll have to repurchase because I need a couple of tablespoons. Now you could also make this recipe with fresh shrimp as well. I just started with frozen. These need to be peeled and deveined, and I'll show you how to do that. I'll put these in a plastic bowl, cover it with water. In about 10 minutes, I will have thawed shrimp. But if you're starting with fresh shrimp, this will work just fine as well. So we're going to go ahead and get into it, and stay with me to learn how to make this blackened Cajun shrimp. The shrimp part is only going to be a couple of points because the only thing we're counting is the olive oil. Shrimp are 0, the seasoning 0, just a little bit of olive oil, so stay with me. The shrimp are finished thawing, and I wanted to mention that I did thaw these in about 10 minutes, but instead of cold water, I put warm water on these. If you put cold water on frozen shrimp, you're going to have a block of frozen shrimp in about 2 minutes. So I use warm water, stir the shrimp around a little bit, check on them, drain the water, and put a little bit more water on there. It's not a problem that you're using water that isn't cold when you're actually going to be coming back and draining these and getting on with your recipe pretty quickly. You wouldn't want them to sit for hours that way, but just for a few minutes, it's fine. So I want to show you how we peel the shrimp. So the way I usually approach peeling a shrimp is to put my thumb right where that shell meets the set of legs. If you turn the shrimp upside down, you see there are 2 rows of legs. So I usually put my thumbnail right where the shell on this side meets the legs and just peel that back, and then pull the legs off. And if you get it just right, so I pulled about half the shell off, if you get it just right, you put a little pressure there, you can almost pull that shrimp out of the back of the shell. So I'll do a few of these so that you can see. And just as I finish them, I'm just moving them to this plate. It took me about 3 minutes to peel these shrimp. Now the next step is to devein them. I suggest that you use a really nice sharp knife. This is a Messermeister paring knife that I got a few years ago. It has my name engraved on it. I just do things like that. But anyway, so what we're going to do is make a cut down the little back of this shrimp and pull the vein out. So that's why you want a knife that's really sharp, because you don't want something that's dull and then rolls off and hits you in the finger. So I'm going to make a little cut, and I always have a paper towel handy because we're going to actually pull the vein out and we need a place to put it. And it's nice to be able to wipe the knife and your fingers off. So when I open up the shrimp, you can see that there's a little tiny black vein there on the side that goes all the way down through. And I'll be honest with you, no 2 shrimp are exactly alike. Sometimes this is going to look different, and I'll make sure I show you how it can look. But what we're going to do is just gently tug on that, and it came out of the back of the shrimp, and that's what the paper towel is for. And so we're going to pull on this side and see if that comes out. And it broke on me, but I was able to grab it right there. Now this is classic. On this particular shrimp, I sliced right in, and you can see this dark vein. And that's essentially the shrimp's digestive tract. I'm going to just go in with my fingers there and pull that out. Sometimes it's goes all the way through and you get some resistance. Like right now, I'm pulling on it, I'm getting just a little bit resistance, and it goes ahead and pulls on out. Sometimes you peel into a shrimp and there's nothing visible there to pull out. The shrimp are now deveined. That took about 3 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and wash my hands and move on to the next step. The next step is to prepare these shrimp to go into the pan, because that will go into a 400-degree oven. So I'm going to put some olive oil and my Cajun seasoning on it. But before I do that, I want to go ahead and juice the lemon that I'm going to be putting on the shrimp after it comes out of the oven. And the reason why I want to go ahead and do that now is because I don't like to have things pulled out of the oven and ready for the next step and I'm over here juicing a lemon. So I just cut a rather large lemon in half. I don't want the seeds in this, so I've got this little all-clad strainer. I do not have anything to juice a lemon with other than a fork and this, and I can do a lot more with this than juice lemons. This is a pretty handy tool I have around the kitchen. So I'm just going to juice this lemon into a bowl, and all I'm doing is sticking the fork in and then twisting the fork and catching those lemon seeds in the strainer. And there's some kind of magic that happens, and I don't know exactly how to explain it or why. Maybe there's science behind it or something. But there's some kind of magic that happens when you put lemon juice on the shrimp and olive oil hot straight out of the oven in that pan. And I will demonstrate that for you when the time comes. But this one lemon gave me a lot of juice. And so it's really the olive oil that you cook the shrimp with, and the lemon juice is really the basis for the sauce that this makes. So I'm going to put this aside, and I've got my lemon juice ready to go. And next, the shrimp. That's the fun part. So I'm going to take about 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and I'm just going to eyeball that. About 2 tablespoons of olive oil, if it was even that much. And then my seasoning. And I don't count Weight Watchers points for this. And I want you all to know that this is not a Weight Watchers version of a recipe that I do. This is really what I do. Weight Watchers or not. It just happens to be really healthy, so I'm lucky with that. I'm going to just leave that little bit of seasoning that wasn't in the 2 tablespoons, just in case I want to put some extra on. And now I'm just going to get in here with my hands and rub that Cajun seasoning all over my shrimp. I have a pan that's already been prepared, a foil-lined pan, and I'm just going to put these shrimp on this pan in a single layer. And just make sure that you get it kind of evened out like this. I always like to make sure I get the last bit of seasoning up with the olive oil with at least one of the shrimp. So just kind of even these out. They don't have to be laid out perfectly. The next step is that this goes into the 400-degree oven for exactly 8 minutes, and then I will take it out and show you what we do with the lemon juice to make that sauce. Now that I have the shrimp out of the oven, again, that was 400 degrees for 8 minutes, I've got the lemon juice that I squeezed a little bit earlier. I'm just going to pour that right over the top evenly. And this is a hot pan, so I need a little mitt to stabilize the pan because I'm going to stir just a little bit. And that lemon juice mixes in with the oil and the juices from the shrimp. And it's almost like it's, I don't know, rinsing off or incorporating with the spices that are on the shrimp a little bit. And it creates this delicious sauce. It's just some kind of magic that happens when the juices of shrimp, olive oil, and lemon juice come together and make this sauce. So if you can see what I'm talking about here, I'm going to grab a spoon really quickly and just tilt this pan so you can see what I'm talking about in terms of it creating this sauce. So next, I want to show you a picture of how I plated this and talk you through the end of this recipe. Here's the plated finished dish, and I chose to serve this with some grits and some wilted down spinach. You are looking at a 10-point plate right there. So let's talk about those grits for just a second. Those grits represent 6 points of what you see on the plate. So a half cup of stone ground grits mixed with 1 cup of chicken broth and 1 cup of water. So you bring the chicken broth and water to a boil, add that half cup grit, so that's a 1/4 cup per person, reduce the heat to simmer, and let that go for about 20 minutes. You'll have to keep an eye on it, stir it so that the bottom doesn't stick, and then when those are done, I just turned the heat off and put the lid on until everything else was finished, and it stayed really nice and hot with the lid on. And then right at the very end, I stirred in 2 tablespoons of half and half. A tablespoon of half and half is 1 point, so that's 5 points worth of grits with 1 point for the half and half, so that's 6 points for that huge serving of grits right there, along with the shrimp. Now the shrimp have 4 points. You saw me put 2 tablespoons of olive oil onto those shrimp to mix in the Cajun seasoning. So that Cajun seasoning and the olive oil, I don't count any points for the Cajun seasoning or the shrimp. The olive oil is 4 points per tablespoon. So since I split that with my husband, that's 4 points for me and 4 points for his portion. So 0 points in the wilted down spinach, 6 points in those grits, 4 points in the shrimp. That is a 10-point plate. But you don't have to serve that with shrimp and make shrimp and grits. You could serve that with zucchini noodles. You could serve that with some kind of a rice. You could serve it with real pasta if you want to use the points for that. But there's so much you can do with this. I really hope you enjoy my Cajun shrimp. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.